Happy Friday, beer runners, and welcome to another edition of the iRunOnBeer Friday 5. For this week's episode, I wanted to get a little technical, and what I mean by that is I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I think as runners we tend to be sort of obsessed about. I know I certainly fall into that category, and that is running data and running metrics. And specifically, I wanted to focus on my 5 favorite running apps, websites, what have you, that I use for tracking my own personal running metrics, running data. So I know we focus a lot on overall mileage. I always set a mileage goal for myself for the year, but since I've started to get more into running, I've learned so much more about all of the other data you can look at, like cadence, heart rate, overall pace, rate of perceived effort. The list goes on and on and on and on. There are so many things that you can track and worry about when you're running. And so I wanted to go through my favorite apps, my favorite websites, my top 5 that I use for tracking those metrics and just sort of tracking my overall progress as a runner, from everything from looking at individual runs for looking at the overall big picture of my running career as a whole. I'll get into the 5 things that I use to keep track of everything. So to kick things off, just a little bit of a disclaimer here. I do run with a Garmin. Specifically, I use the Garmin Forerunner 935. I got this watch probably 2-3 years ago. Actually, probably about 2 years ago I got the watch. So that definitely influences some of my picks, just because I'm more inclined to use apps, websites, etc. that sync with Garmin specifically, just because that's what I use to track all of my running information. But I know for most running watches, most data metrics, etc., you can find a product that should sync with all of these anyway, but just wanted to give you the heads up that that's going to shape my view on some of these products a little bit. So obviously, first and foremost, fitting right in with that disclaimer, my first favorite app that I love to use is the Garmin Connect app. So that's the app that just syncs directly to my watch after every run. That's where the run's getting imported to, and I sync my Garmin Connect account with most other features, apps, etc. that I use to pull data directly from there. Like I said, if you don't have a Garmin, I'm sure there are plenty of other options that you can use, but especially for looking at just the raw data after a run, specific to each individual run, Garmin Connect is what I'm using all the time. You can look at your pace, heart rate. I love that it gives you the option to actually overlay your pace data with your heart rate data or elevation or things like that. You can overlay different metrics to kind of see how is elevation impacting my heart rate. That was something I actually had to work on a lot when I first started with my coach. Was I love to sprint up those hills. It's something that's still in me from those days of high school cross country. But what I saw when I'm running, especially longer distance races, you don't want to see that huge heart rate spike as you're just trying to force yourself up that hill, because it's going to lead to much more fatigue later on in a race, especially if it's a longer distance race. So learning to kind of keep my heart rate steady and how important that is, I'm starting to dive a lot deeper into the specific metrics of each individual run. Things like cadence, overall perceived effort, what heart rate zone you're in, etc., etc. The list could go on and on, but like I said, Garmin is just my #1 favorite app for tracking just the raw metrics of each individual run. They also do a good job of letting you know some of your data as it tracks across a week, across a month. You can kind of set those settings, and it'll give you sort of a daily output of your overall health, since it is one of just those fitness wearables. It tracks your rest, tracks your stress level, resting heart rate throughout the day. So you can kind of use all of this to kind of influence your training. It's what my coach uses to review my runs, review my statistics, to make sure that I'm on track for whatever goal that I'm training towards. But just overall, just a great sort of snapshot of your individual runs, your day-to-day life, to help make sure that you're in the right zone for where you want to be in training. Apart from the data that it gives you for your runs, one thing that I actually didn't know was a feature until I started working with my coach is that you can actually create customized workouts directly in the Garmin Connect app. This is huge, especially if you're running sprint repeats or anything like that. Any kind of weird run where you're mixing up distances, you're mixing up goal paces, goal times, etc. You can verbatim create a workout every single step along the way in the Garmin Connect app, and it will send it directly to your watch. So for me, I have a workout for every day of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, etc. And I'll go in at the beginning of every week when my coach sends me what my workouts are. I'll enter those into the Garmin Connect app. It sends it directly to my watch. So when I wake up Tuesday morning, I go outside and I just select Tuesday's workout, and as you're running, the watch will track your progress through the workout. So it takes your thought process out of it, so you can just focus on the running itself, and it's definitely a huge feature that I appreciate running with the Garmin Connect app and the Garmin watch. So now that the Garmin specific stuff is out of the way, we'll get on to #2, which I'm sure will come as no surprise. It's one of probably the largest names in running or just activity related apps in general, and that is Strava, the social network created and designed for athletes. So just a quick note before I jump into the specifics is I've been using Strava, the free version, forever. I just started testing out Summit, so I'll put a video out later once I'm more familiar with the extra features that you get with the paid version of Strava called Summit. But most of the features I'm going to talk about are just the free metrics that are available to you, or free features that anyone is able to use. So what I really like about Strava is, like I said, it brings that social aspect to running. So as opposed to just talking about running within your local running clubs, maybe groups that you have online, Strava allows you to connect with athletes in your local running community, but then also across the globe, and even connect with some of those pro athletes that you might follow as well. You can post your running data on Strava. It will sync directly from whatever kind of activity tracker you use, or you can record runs directly through the Strava app, and it posts it all into a feed just like you would find on any social networking site, except the feed is just everyone's activities that they're posting week to week. So you can see, people can see what you're doing, you can see what your friends are doing, and you can like or give kudos on their activities or leave comments and things like that along the way. So brings a nice little social aspect to it. What I also like about that feature is it allows you to challenge yourself against other runners and maybe against your friends. You can organize challenges amongst yourselves, or you can join some of the pre-made Strava challenges. That's actually one of my favorite features I've been diving more into recently. Is every month Strava will release their own challenges for runners, bikers, swimmers, but then other companies or organizations might also offer specific challenges to athletes. And usually if it's an outside challenge that maybe a brand or company is offering, if you complete that challenge, there's some kind of perk or reward involved. It might be a discount on some of their gear, or they may take everyone who completes that challenge and draw one random winner for some kind of large-scale grand prize, but just adds a little bit of excitement, gives you something fun to look forward to, and again, just challenges you to try some new things or really push yourself in training. Another feature that I love is the gear tracking. That's probably one that I use most on Strava. You can enter your specific running shoes. So right now, I think I have 2 pairs of street running shoes that I'm alternating most frequently. I have a pair of trail shoes as well, and then some older pairs of shoes that I'll throw in every once in a while. But I have all of those shoes linked into my Strava account, so every time I finish a run and it syncs to Strava, I can go in and select what shoe I was wearing during that run, and it'll automatically keep track of the mileage for you. This is huge just in terms of keeping those numbers straight, so you know how much mileage is on every shoe. And you can also set a limit when Strava will notify you, hey, it might be time to start looking at new shoes. You just hit 400 miles on this pair. So again, you can set that range when you want to be notified, which is huge just again, so you don't have to worry about it. Strava will keep track of all of that information for you. Those are really the top features that I use in Strava, the free version. Like I said, I'm just starting to use Summit, so I'm just getting familiar with some of the bonus features. There's a lot more metrics that you can dive into with Summit, especially just looking at your specific run data. Like I said, I tend to use Garmin more often for that, so that might not be worth it for me to pay for Strava, but I know there are a lot of other features that come along with it and perks as well, so I'm interested to see what I find when I dive deeper into that. I use those first two, Garmin and Strava, more to focus on the smaller picture day-to-day activities that I do as a runner. So like I said, looking at those individual running metrics, individual activities. For number 3, we're moving to big picture, and I'm actually surprised with how many people I talk to, how many runners I talk to who are unfamiliar with this website or this platform, and that is SmashRun. I've been using SmashRun since 2015, and I love it mostly for how it collects and aggregates all of your running data from when you start using the service. So basically what I mean by that is, it is really the only site that I found where you can look at a graph of your running progress throughout all time. From, again, like I said, when I started using it in 2015 until now, there'll be graphs of your overall mileage, how your pace has improved, your race PRs, all as much information as you can think of. It's all collected in one place. You are able to, so it does automatically import your runs. Again, it syncs directly to my Garmin. There's other services that it can sync to as well, but it'll pull that information directly into the website and then create just these awesome visuals for you to look at so that you can really, again, visualize your progress that you've made as a runner. I've especially enjoyed this over the last few years because of how much my running has skyrocketed, especially my mileage. But you can see a bar graph of how your mileage has increased every month, every day, every year over the last 4 years. You can see how your PRs have increased, how your heart rate has changed. It takes all of that information and gives you kind of that long-term big picture view of it. So again, you get those individual metrics every time it imports a run. You can put notes in about the run. You can say if it was a race or not. You can say how you were feeling. You have all of that individual individualized data, but what I use it more for is tracking those long-term goals. So that's where I set all my annual goals, my monthly goals, etc. in that website format. It tracks your progress towards those, but then you can kind of zoom out and look at a daily run, zoom out, how does that pair with your monthly runs, how does that pair with your annual runs, and how does that match up against every run that you've ever done. So you can kind of go as wide as you want or as focused as you want. And it will tell you this is the nth longest run that you've done, this is the nth fastest run that you've done, and show where every activity that you upload fits in with your overall running picture. Again, there is so much information out there contained in this website, and I'm shocked that more people aren't using it. So if you aren't familiar with SmashRun, you can go to smashRun.com and set up a free account. You can find me on there. I'll try to share my link below. The social aspect isn't as promoted on SmashRun. I think it's more for personal use, but it is just awesome for, again, just tracking your progress as a runner throughout time. And even if you start today, for me, like as an example, I use Garmin Connect, so Garmin Connect has my runs dating all the way back to 2015. If I were to create an account today, it would pull all of that information, so you still are able to see your full history as opposed to just whatever you upload from now into the future. So an awesome website, especially if you just love looking at graphs and plots of your running data. This will give you all of the information that you could ever look for. For number 4 and 5, we're moving away from your training data, your specific running information, running metrics, and moving more into the racing world. So with number 4, no surprise, I got to give a shout out to BibRave.com. Obviously, I'm a BibRave Pro. I'm one of their BibRave ambassadors. And basically, I've talked about the products and everything I get to review through that opportunity, but I don't think I've actually discussed what the actual website is, what BibRave actually offers. What's awesome about BibRave is it basically provides athletes or runners specifically a place to go to read reviews of specific races. It's sort of like a Yelp for the running community. What's nice about that is, let's say you want to register for a big race, you find one that looks cool, but there's not a lot of information, they're kind of vague in some of the details, and you don't want to spend all this money registering for a race that turns out to be a bust. So what's nice about BibRave.com is you can log in, search for those races, and see actual runners' reviews of that race. And they'll rate all different things. They'll rate the overall race experience, the terrain, how parking was, how the expo was, how the swag is that you get, how well organized the race was, how the aid stations were, etc. All the information that you can think of, the rating, the overall 5-star rating is broken down into different categories. So if you're looking for a race but you're kind of uneasy about terrain, you can see what people thought about that. And then there's also space for them to leave, just like on any other review site, a full review of the race itself. So again, just an awesome service that BibRave provides to runners, especially if you're looking to try something new, looking for a new exciting race and you're not sure where to go. Check out BibRave.com, search for some of the races on there. You can search by location, see what different activities or opportunities are out there. And like I said, just get a realistic view of how a race is going to turn out before you spend all the money on the registration. So absolutely worth checking out. And even if you aren't looking for a new race, make sure that you're reviewing all of the races that you run on there, so that when other runners are looking for races to sign up, maybe they're looking for that race that you did last month and they can see your review, your perspective on that course. 5 is another racing specific website, and also another website that I don't think enough runners are taking advantage of, and that is athlinks.com. athlinks.com, athlinks.com. And basically what Athlinks does is it collects all of your official race results from across the web and aggregates them in one easily digestible place on your Athlinks profile. Setting up your profile is incredibly easy. You just have to put in your information, some demographic data, name, gender, age, etc. And basically what it does is it searches race results all over the world, and it will pull all of the ones that match closely to what your profile is. And all you have to do is go through and select which ones were actually you. So it does take a little bit of time to set up initially, just because it's going to pull a ton of results that might be yours, and you kind of have to go through and sort them yourself and choose which ones are yours and hide the ones that aren't yours. But once you have that initial stage out of the way, all of your PRs are collected. The nice thing then is, moving forward, now that your profile is created, anytime you run a race or anytime Athlinks finds a race that it thinks might be yours, it'll give you a notification saying, hey, we found a new result that you think might be yours, would you like to claim it? And you can easily, again, just claim the result if it is yours, or just hide it if it's not. And then once you have claimed all of those results, your Athlinks profile is a collection of all of your race performances in one place. Again, I love this because A, you don't have to do the hard work of going back, searching through all of your past races and trying to manually keep track of all that information. Athlinks does all of the hard work for you and puts it all in one easily digestible place. I can't tell you how many times I've thought back to a race and said, I can't remember what exactly my time was, or I know I got a PR in this race, but I can't remember exactly what the splits were, exactly what my pace was, exactly what my time was, and I can just log into Athlinks now and go, and there it is, the race results right there. As opposed to before, when I would have to go to each individual race's website, go back through the historical data, try to find the results from 2014 and go back and find my name. I can just go to the Athlinks profile, and again, they do the hard work for me. They search those online databases and pull all that aggregate data. A drawback to Athlinks is it won't have, every once in a while, depending on the service that races use to log their results, sometimes it'll miss some of those smaller local races, but for the most part, I could not believe how accurate it was and also how far back it tracked my data, just because of races posting their results online and Athlinks being able to find them. So again, every once in a while, you might find that it will miss a race result, but for the most part, I think it's maybe missed one or two small local races out of all of the races that I've run. All of the other ones, it has pulled my data, and you can see what your PRs are. You can see chronologically all of your race results organized by distance, etc. And it will also tell you like what percentile you finished in each race, what percentile of where you place in terms of all Athlinks users. It gives you a lot of that information as well, just to track your progress as a runner, and again, kind of visualize where you're at. Just another shout out about a feature Athlinks has. It is trying to incorporate more of the social aspect, so you can friend people on Athlinks. One of the things that I like when you do find friends or you match up with someone on Athlinks is then if you ever run a race with someone, it will match you up as rivals, and you can see how many times, especially if you have like friends that you run with frequently, it'll keep track of your rivalry, how many times you've beat that person, how many times they've beat you, by how much, what the margin was, etc. So again, just kind of adds a fun challenge aspect to running with some of your buddies. So huge website, another one that people aren't taking enough advantage of. Definitely check it out, and again, it just gives you a nice easy snapshot of all of your race performances without you having to go through and search for everything. It'll organize it all for you. There you have it, my top 5 favorite running apps and websites that I use for tracking my individual run data, tracking my progress over time, that big picture lifetime runners information on Smash Run, and then also tracking and reviewing specific race performances. Those are just 5 of the websites that I use, definitely the ones that I use most often, apps and websites, but let me know which of those you are using. I'm hoping maybe in the future to do some deeper dives into some of those products. I already mentioned I'm trying Strava Summit features now, so I'm hoping to do a review of some of the specifics that come with that. But if you're interested, let me know in the comments, and maybe I'll do some more in-depth reviews into each of those websites, each of those apps, to kind of show you how to use them, give you a quick start guide, etc. So if there's one that you're hoping to learn more about, just comment down below. Or if one of these is your favorite running app, also let me know which are your favorites in the comments below. I'm always looking to see what different runners are using, and I'm fascinated to see which features and metrics and things like that runners use most often. So again, let me know down in the comments below. I look forward to hearing it. And as always, congratulations on making it through another week. Happy Friday, you made it to the weekend. Enjoy your Saturday, enjoy your Sunday. If you're doing a long run, good luck, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.